You gotta say it again. After you say it again, nobody else can talk.
Hi, I'm Tara. Here we go.
This is HCAM TV.
Good evening, Hopkinton, and welcome to the Main Street Corridor Q&A. My name is Tara Sander with eHop, and together with HCAM and our town officials, we thought it was about time that we start talking about what is happening downtown. Anyone who has driven or walked or biked through town has experienced the start of what I'd like to call the Little Big Dig, and it's just beginning. As with our other forums that eHop has done, we take a topic of interest and we pull together all the town officials that can answer questions about it. And we reach out to the community and get questions and concerns from people. We bring it all together in this forum so everybody has a clear understanding of what's going on. Tonight, we are discussing the Downtown Corridor project that started on the 15th of March with a completion plan for the fall of 2023. This will involve roadway construction, resurfacing, separate bike lanes, sidewalks, straightening of the intersection finally, with a total cost of $21.5 million, of which the town is responsible for $3.4 million. Before I introduce our panelists, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, a fellow eHop board member, Elise Mihalowski, who is here tonight to make sure I don't miss any questions. Elise, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody.
And now to introduce our esteemed panelists we brought together tonight. We have Brian Herr from the Select Board, Dave Del Torio, our town engineer, Michelle Murdoch, the Main Street Corridor Project Specialist, and Matthew Chase from the firm of VHB, who's our town engineering consultant. So welcome everyone and thank you for joining us tonight. So as we go through tonight, you can still, as a viewing audience member, participate in the discussion. So if you're watching on HCAM, on their YouTube channel, you can make comments. You can email us at questions@ehop.org, or you could use Facebook. We have a team of eHop members working behind the scenes that can feed me your questions. I'd like to just start tonight by discussing or acknowledging the incredible resource that the town has provided for us, and that is the Main Street Corridor Project website and our very own dedicated project specialist, Michelle Murdoch. This website not only hosts any and all information about construction or of the project, but it maintains active and up-to-date information about the construction. So Michelle, why don't you take us through the site? Just let us know what type of information the site provides, how to sign up for updates, and your role as project specialist.
Michelle's having a little connectivity issue, so if we could come back to her when she's able to join us.
Sure, I can go right into our questions. So why don't we start with the timeline of the project? And I don't know who wants to handle that, but we're looking at when the start is. I just went over the start and finish. Will there be any temporary breaks during the project? Is it a phased project? How is this going to look for us for the next 2 years?
Hi, this is Dave Del Torio, your town engineer. As Michelle Murdoch tries to reconnect, I'll try to answer some of the questions. The project is, as previously stated, it's a 3-year project with the breaks occurring during normal construction seasons ending in December through March. So there'll be project work from March through November, December, weather pending, over each of the next 3 summers. There really are no phases of this project. It will be a continuous project as different work crews will be following one another. Currently, right now, we have some of the infrastructure for the drainage system happening, along with some water system work. So when that work gets completed in these areas, they move along. Shortly thereafter, another type of crew will kind of be doing different types of work. So it's a little, not typical for a regular utility project where if they're going by the front of your house, they finish their work, they move down the street 20 feet, and then finish that work. And they typically don't come back until the end of the project to do paving. So this is a long project. There's lots of work going on, as everybody knows. So I hope that helps answer the question. As Michelle is trying to connect into, I'm not sure if we were going to get into the discussion of the project website. I don't have my screen to share, but there is a project website. It's a secure website. It's hopkintonmainstreet.com. It's an HTTPS website. Folks can get to that website, and we encourage as many people as possible to check the website out. We do provide updates minimally on bi-weekly basis, but more likely it'll be a weekly basis. And on occasions when there's different activity going on, the contractor notifies us of, we'll provide additional updates. At the bottom of the web page is a sign up. If you scroll to the bottom of the website, there's a sign up for notices. Every time a construction notice goes out or an advisory or other notice, project notice, you can sign up to receive that automatically via email.
And Dave, the emails that will be going up once you sign up from that website, those are weekly emails?
Any notice that does go out, you will receive. The updates of the project website, since the project has started, have gone out weekly. There's been a couple notices that we sent out more than weekly. It's just more of a general project update. But any notice that we send out that's related to the project, you will get an email if you sign up through there. There are other ways to sign up through the town website, the main Town of Hopkinton website, for different types of notices. If you have previously signed up through those, you may also receive an additional notice from a different platform. But the project website sign up, you put in the email address you would like to get a notice, and you actually get an invite. Get an email. I'm no expert on Twitter and Facebook and all those other different types of platforms, but as I understand them, you might miss an update. You have to scroll back to find something. So this, you'll just get an email and it'll sit there in your inbox until you open it up.
Okay. And just as a follow-up, I did notice that it's when you Google the project, it sends you down other roads. So I think the easiest way is to get on the town's website and get to the project website that way.
Yeah, we're trying to provide as many ways as possible to go to it. There should be a link on the front of the town's website to get to the Main Street Corridor Project construction website.
Okay. And Elise, do you have the next question?
Yes, I do. We were wondering what part of the project will have the biggest impact on downtown, and how and when will that be?
Yeah, this is because I've kind of go back to, it's not a phased project. It'll be a continuous type of construction throughout the corridor. The biggest impact will likely occur in the first, I know it's being as vague as possible, the first couple of years. This year we'll have a lot of activity as the contractor tries to complete all his underground work, all the underground infrastructure. A complete new drainage system is being installed. And as most folks know, it's an undergrounding of utilities project from about public safety areas, the police and fire, down to Ash Street. There's a significant amount of underground conduit and infrastructure that needs to go beneath the road. So whenever the contractor is going to be in the road digging up travel lanes for a commuter, that'll be the biggest impact. And for most people trying to get through the corridor. As you know, the realignment of the intersection will also be a big a big task, but it won't all happen at once. It kind of goes as one crew does their work, the next one will come along to do that type of work and so forth.
Right. Now, we had a couple of questions about this one. It's a two-part question. One is, how will this construction affect the marathon that will be happening in October? And many people want to know if Brian is running the marathon this year.
No. I am done running the marathon. Thank you. My knees just can't take it anymore. The marathon itself, though, should be fine in terms of the construction and what has to take place in order for the marathon to go off safely. I think they can't work for a week before the marathon so that we can get the area cleaned up and staged as best we can for the runners and spectators that will be allowed in the center of town. We're going to have to look at how all that will play out as we go through the coming months. But it should be fine. It won't look like it has looked in years past with the common and sort of the beautiful area there. It'll be a mess this fall for sure, but we'll clean it up as best we can so that it's safe, get everything out of the way. And then once the marathon's over, we'll be right back at it.
Okay.
Great. Our next question is, when will construction be happening? Will it happen on weekdays, weekends, at night?
The contractor has a Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30 schedule. There are no anticipated nights or weekends work. They typically don't do that, who work during those times on mass DOT projects. So as of right now, there would be no work outside of regular hours. There are contract stipulations where, should some of the work, some of the main portions of the work need to be done, and it ends up, the contractor believes it will create less of impact to the overall project. There's an opportunity for them to request to work outside, but those requests go through the town. So I don't want to just say, it's never going to happen, because on construction projects, one never knows really what's going to happen tomorrow, especially when you're excavating below grade. So,
Dave, are those hours in the contract itself, the 7 to 3:30 p.m.?
Yes.
Yeah, so the contractor can't show up because he's in the mood and wants to work at 6 a.m. He's not allowed to per contract.
Correct.
And Dave, where in this project timeline does the straightening of the intersection happen? Year 1, year 2?
Yeah, again, it would be nice to be able to say it will happen, during this month, but it really will happen, progressively. They're already starting to realign the intersection. They're putting in catch basins now and manholes where the new curb lines will be. They haven't moved those curb lines yet. They haven't installed the new drain pipe through the intersection. They haven't installed all the underground conduit, the traffic signals, the new sidewalks, the new bike path. So it will kind of all happen, say it's not a phased project, but from a standpoint of this is going to happen and then everything will be done. But there will be a lot of work that keeps happening in the intersection to realign it, if that makes sense. And I would point out, there's one thing I would have touched on. There will be project cameras that are being installed as we speak. They should be in within a week or so. And there'll be links on the project website so folks can take a live look at some of the work. And those will be a time lapse type of archive. So as we realign this, we will be doing a time lapse and be able to show that, as the project ends, in maybe a 3 or 4 minute or 2 or 3 minute video or something, how the intersection got realigned.
Tara, can I just jump in for 1 sec on another point about sort of the phased approach? We're hoping there will be 2 and possibly 3 crews working at the same time on different days over the course of this project. The more crews we can have working simultaneously, somebody out at West Main and Wood, somebody at the intersection, and somebody up towards the Common, If we have three different groups of crews working at the same time, we can accelerate the pace of the project and hopefully get it done sooner. So you'll see some traffic changes going on over at Pleasant Street. You'll see something going on at the intersection, and you might still see something up at the Common. So we're going to be trying to spread out the work a little bit, but also have 2 or 3 crews going at the same time, which will certainly help us get this done as soon as possible.
And I'd just also like to add on the intersection realignment that it really depends on ordering of materials. There's a lot of backlog, I guess, or delay in some steel products. The new signal equipment is anticipated to be manufactured or fabricated and shipped probably this fall. So I think it's going to depend on that and when things, and then if there's just general conflicts in certain areas, it might push things out a little bit for that intersection.
Okay.
And one last thing to follow up on what Brian had mentioned, we currently do have three crews out there right now. There is an Eversource project going on at the same time, so you might see 4 different crews out there, but that crew's not associated with the project for Eversource. Our general contractor, Amarillo, has two crews out there right now, one doing drainage work. There's another one working on the water system, doing relocating some of the hydrants for the project. And then folks may have noticed there was tree cutting going on this week as well.
I fortunately get to see that twice a day until my kids get back on the bus. So we have seen it. Elisa, you doing the next question?
Yes. Eventually, the bridge on Fruit Street will be closed for repair, which will eliminate that as an alternate route around the center of town going north. Do we know when the state has planned for this?
The state is coordinating with the town on that. I'm not sure at the moment when that exactly is going to occur, but that's some information I can work with the other town departments, town manager's office, and DPW, and we can get that information up on the town website.
Great. Okay, we do have our project specialist back with us now. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. We touched upon the website a little bit, but I was wondering if you were ready to do your screen share and show us the website.
Sure, let's give that a shot. So go to screen. Wait a minute here. There we go. Okay. So this is the project website that was created specifically for the Main Street project. Hang on a second. Hopefully my computer is not having issues again. But anyway, can everybody see this clearly?
Yes, we can.
All
And
right.
it looks fantastic.
Okay, it was created by VHB. And it basically keeps, it's updated at a minimum bi-weekly, sometimes weekly, depending on the activity. And it will give what to expect 2 weeks out look generally. It will tell you where the construction is happening, that type of thing, and what they're working on. It has the hours of construction, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And then there's a section here for property access and parking updates and other things that are happening. We are also encouraging people to sign up for project updates. You can do that on this website down here at the bottom. And if you scroll back to the top, there is also an archive over here of the construction advisories that have already gone out. So if people have missed some of the previous ones, they are all here for reference.
And I would follow one thing up that we are in the process of, we will be creating a construction photo section over the next week where we will post kind of activities that have been happening over the last week or two.
Okay. And it did say that, do you have any idea when the construction, what was it saying that we were waiting for? Construction schedule. was going to be updated on the website. Has that been done yet? Or are you still waiting on that?
I know,
In
yes.
term,
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I was gonna say specifically what construction schedule that, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I think overall, the contractor prepares a construction schedule and submits it to Mass DOT
Mhm,
to show that they've planned out all the activities and they'll fit within the contract deadline, which is the 3-year project. The contract, we don't have that to post yet. It can provide a false sense of what's going to happen. So we took the approach of working with the contractor closely to provide the actual 2-week look ahead. Because a construction schedule that gets submitted up front is going to change. We just didn't want to provide misinformation. You know, it may show that tree work wasn't going to happen now, but the contractor, subcontractor, something opened up and now they could do that work. So it would be off schedule and it would just create confusion, I think, overall. But their overall construction schedule requires them to finish, you know, in that 3-year period. Like any contractor, they prefer to finish as early as possible. So they will have as many crews out there as they can keep working.
So let's talk about that for a little bit more, if we could, please. So the construction schedule that gets submitted to Mass DOT primarily includes a lot of key milestones in the path of the project or along the path of the project, at what needs to be what will need to be accomplished when to maintain that overall construction schedule and finish on time. Obviously, any good general contractor is going to want to pull forward the strict schedule wherever they can and however they can, because that increases their cash flow as a business and it helps them to, you know, manage their business enterprise better. But let's say we get a week of rain and we get 4 inches of rain over a 4-day period. That is going to change the construction schedule for the next week thereafter. This might change it for a couple days beforehand because they're going to have to do a bunch of stuff to get ready for 4 inches of rain that comes at us. And then after the rain comes, they're going to have to go back and do some other things because we had 4 inches of rain come through. So the construction schedule will always vary on any construction schedule, whether it's a building coming up out of the ground or a road project like this or a solar project, with some people happen to know a lot about these days. Construction is always going to vary a little bit. So we don't want to paint ourselves into a corner that this day we're going to put this pipe in this piece of the road. We can't really do it to that level because it's not realistic.
It doesn't rain that much around here though in the spring. So we should be
I
fine.
think we're getting 2 inches tomorrow night.
I think so. And Elise, do you have the next question?
Yeah, we have a question from a YouTube viewer. Where's the dog park going to be? Where does the bike path start and finish?
The dog park, you know, park, I think they have the Park and Recs project that's going out on Fruit Street, I believe. Completely separate project from the Main Street project. So it's not connected in any way. I believe they've selected a general contractor, and that project has started separately over on Fruit Street. The bike path question, was it where does it start and end?
Yes.
The separated bike lane for this project is going to be connected to the existing center trail that starts right across the street or ends, depending on which way you come, across the street from Hopkinton Lumber. So right near Meserve Street or Wood Street. There'll be a 2-way separated bike lane, separated from the sidewalk. There'll be a separate sidewalk as well. And the separated bike lane is going to go all the way to Hayden Row. And as the sidewalks will continue on both sides of the road as well. So the bike lane will be going from the center trail east all the way to Hayden Row. There will be bike accommodations on Marathon Way and I believe on East Main Street. The intent is to tie that into the Upper Charles Trail project, which is another separate project from the town, but in coordination with this one. Going west from the center trail there will be a shared use path going through the intersection of Wood Street.
Right. Now, one of the streets that is in the middle of this whole thing is Summer Street, which is where the Hopkinton Senior Housing is. Are we doing anything to kind of protect their access in and out of their road? I don't think I'm asking that correctly.
Yeah, I understand. When there is construction anywhere within the corridor, there will be police details assigned to it. The police details will manage traffic safely through those work zone areas. And that includes any intersection, including the Summer Street and Mayhew Street intersections.
You have a police detail currently at points of construction and a crossing guard funneling the buses off of Pleasant Street. Today there was an accident. During construction, is it possible to get a police detail at this location? This has always been a tricky intersection, but now that more people are using it as a cut through to avoid downtown, it is worse.
Yeah, I would, I talked to the police today. There was no construction activity at Pleasant Street. I know could be associated with the traffic patterns. Providing police details outside of the work zones aren't really part of this project. They will be there when the work is planned in that area. I would recommend this kind of be a question. This has come up for 10 years as part of this project. So it really is kind of a school committee discussion on where to help provide police details and crossing guards for the bus routes.
Yeah, the crossing guard that's there at Pleasant Street in Maine now really is there primarily to keep the buses moving so they don't run behind. If the buses end up queuing up on Pleasant Street, they can be sitting there for 5 or 10 minutes sometimes in rush hour, mornings and afternoons. So the school committee has that crossing person there to get those buses moving more than anything else. And then for someone crossing, I've seen them help somebody cross the street. But that process or that work, if you will, of keeping the buses moving is separate from the project itself. But certainly we'll watch that as we go forward. We don't have a direct control over that crossing guard situation.
Now, at that intersection, there's no plan to put a light in there with this project, right?
There's no traffic signal. I would, from Matt Chase from VHB, is there a pedestrian, a flashing light going there? Oh,
Matt,
Matt,
you're muted.
You're muted, Matt. Oops. He's having a
All
little.
right, there we go.
Great.
I'm on there now. Okay.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
also.
there is, I was just confirming which side it was on. There is a pedestrian crosswalk with a flashing rapid beacon. And that's going to be on the easterly side of Pleasant Street. There's also going to be one at Commonwealth Avenue as well. It won't be a signalized intersection to control traffic, but it'll be there to control or to give warning to pedestrians crossing in the roadway. And the rapid flashing beacon on the west, it'll be on the westerly side of Commonwealth Avenue. So you'll have those two in that area. So hopefully that creates some sort of traffic calming effect and some gaps in traffic, and maybe that'll alleviate some of the concerns on Pleasant Street.
And I would add, as part of the overall design in the last 10 years, a traffic signal was looked at that intersection. The traffic experts, when they do their traffic modeling, setting up the traffic signals through the corridor, adding an actual traffic signal at Pleasant Street had pretty detrimental effects on the traffic signal at Wood Street and how it would work with the 85-135 traffic signal. So it had been looked at. I looked at several times during this project, and the design engineers did run it through their models under the different scenarios. As Matt said, the rapid flashing beacon was added in there as an additional safety measure, so that pedestrians, they'll be able to use it and press the button, and it'll flash and traffic is supposed to stop by law, but we hope they do.
Now, this is a question I was supposed to ask earlier, but it has to do with these side roads. Roads like Pleasant, you're heavily relying on those roads to move traffic around once, they start digging up? Is that going to affect roads like those roads?
Yeah, the getting an echo.
Yeah.
The intent of isn't to use side roads for detours. The intent is to try to maintain 2 lanes of traffic as much as possible. There may be some instances where there might be a detour around a small area, but there's no requests, there's no plans to close Main Street to the extent where we would detour traffic through the neighborhoods, through Pleasant and across to Church Street or Hayden Row. And again, you don't want to say it will never happen, but it wouldn't be the norm. There may be certain activities where a contractor might have to be putting in one of these underground structures for the underground utilities. So some of them are 4 or 5 foot by some of them maybe 8 feet long. So putting some of those into the ground in 2 lanes of traffic might require some detour on that day or so when they're setting those things, but it's not intended to be a norm at all.
Thank you. We have a question from a YouTube viewer. From where to where will the utilities go underground?
So for it's kind of from the public safety buildings, police and fire, to Ash Street. All the overhead utilities will be underground. That process starts a little further on both ends. So the undergrounding really starts somewhere after Mayhew Street. Some of them overhead utilities will start going underground, but by the time they hit the police and fire station, they'll all be underground, and you won't see telephone poles from police and fire down to Ash Street.
So just to be clear, there won't be complete undergrounding of wires from Wood to Ash?
No, there will be. There will be. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry, I got my roads mixed up. From Wood to Ash Street, it's not a complete undergrounding project. From Wood Street to about public safety buildings, fire and police, you'll still have the overhead utilities. There will be modifications being made to those. Those poles that we have now are all being moved to the back of the sidewalk from Wood Street to the public safety buildings. So they'll no longer be in the curb line where they are now, in the street pretty much. A lot of I think some of the overhead utility lines that are currently there are going to be removed. So there won't be as many of them from Wood Street to the public safety. The Eversource Electric has done other work in town so that they don't need as many of the overhead wires they currently have there now. So there will be a reduction of the number of overhead wires we see from Wood Street to the public safety buildings. And then the public safety, it will go underground all the way to Ash Street, and it will start coming back up after Ash Street.
Okay, great. So the next grouping of questions, a lot of people had questions about the common and what's going to happen to that area. Will the common still be accessible to the public for small socially distanced gatherings? What's going to happen with the farmers market, Memorial Day celebration, concerts on the common? Are those moving, or will they still be able to happen?
No, all activities on the common will continue to happen as they have previously. There'll be no interruption to activities on the common, other than, there may be parking on the Marathon Way wouldn't be available. But, parking can be in the vicinity, as well as, coordination from those organizations with the town to use maybe the center school properties for some of those activities. depending on the activities Park and Rec may have scheduled at Center School itself. But in general, there'll be no impact to the actual activities that can occur on the common.
So going along with that, are there any plans yet for Center School, or has that been put off for this project completion?
The Center School project, again, has not been put off as a result of this project. It's still moving forward as its separate project.
Okay, great. So there's a rendering of the intersection with expanded green space, and this is right at the intersection of 85 and 135. Actually, Mike, if you could pull up that slide, it's the overview with the green space expansion. And it shows that new green area. Yes, right in front of the gas station. Is that private property, or will that be town-owned and maintained property?
That will be a town-owned property. We've already had, myself and VHB have had some discussions with the Hopkinton Garden Club, several discussions with the Hopkinton Garden Club on landscaping throughout the corridor, or in the loss of some of green space, but also the addition of green space, and what their recommendations would be for the town for those new green spaces. But it will be town-owned property, and there is an intent to, anywhere possible through this project. It was really hard because there is so much pavement to maintain and create green space where possible. This is one area where, with the realignment, we lose some of the green space on that side of Grove Street, but we're adding it onto, the east side. The other area would be down near the common. The Doughboy is being, Doughboy Island is being increased with the resulting loss of some of the green space on the other side of Marathon Way. And at the intersection of Hayden Row, where the roadway is, it's close to 60, 70 feet wide right now, that's being significantly narrowed. And we are having additional green space along the south side of Main Street right there. It's also where a new everybody knows about the statue that's going there, right, Brian? There's supposed to be another statue of the first, I believe, first woman marathon runner is going to go at that corner as well. So it'll work in well with that. We're also working with the veterans group for creating areas from Marathon Way for looking at the existing monuments there, and possibly adding a third, I think a World War II monument might be in the works. But so again, we're trying to increase exposure to some of the existing monuments, coordinating with the different organizations for new monuments, and working with the Garden Club kind of for throughout the corridor.
That sounds fantastic. And I think the common needs a woman on there.
We have another question from a YouTube viewer. What is the contractor's plan for working on the main intersection? Will this involve night work? This was the explanation we were given for active night activities in the Marshall Avenue lot in 2019. If so, what lot will be used for the staging of materials needed? Marshall Ave is very concerned about the lot use changing in this regard, and would like to again request that the snow lot be used.
Yeah, as I mentioned previously, the contractor hasn't requested, hasn't planned, or does plan to work at night. So being a MassDOT project too, they don't typically allow contractors to work outside the 7 to 3:30 window. If any such request would come through, it would come through MassDOT first, and then that request would go through, the select board for approval. The use of Marshall Ave for the work, the town has coordinated with the contract for several different we call them staging areas or lay down areas for the contractor. Currently, they've been allowed use of Marathon Way, the snow dump, which is down off of Cedar Street, Alcott Street, which is the Park and Recs building, is new town property. There's a small area in the parking lot off of Marshall Ave. Was just prepped, today with crushed stone and fencing to use that as a storage area. Folks have noticed on Marathon Way where you have these concrete structures, or you have pipe, or you have the materials a contractor needs to store for the week's work or the 2 weeks work that are coming up. The contractor has guidelines to use those sites, especially the Marshall Ave site being, in a residential neighborhood. The town has coordinated closely with those residents, with the Park and Recs Commission. Fencing has been put up to block off the entrance to that parking lot. But again, the contractor is not allowed to use those sites anywhere outside of 7 to 3:30. There may be special occasions, but there's no intent to allow work. A previous.
If I could just.
Go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, I was just saying
So
previous.
just
Sorry, I'm done.
So just to be clear on the hours again, the contract does stipulate 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. To date, the select board has not been requested to have any type of variance against those hours that I'm aware of. I don't miss too many meetings, so I would have heard something if there was some variance requested. As far as the intersection goes, that's going to be the same. Rules shall apply there. Anything would have to come before the select board at that time. I don't think that's going to be happening, that intersection work in earnest really for a couple more months. But the intent is, in the Mass DOT contract process generally is 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., usually 3 actually, and that's it. So as one member of the board, I don't anticipate any issues as far as night work goes at all. There's a difference in price that the contractor has to pay. There's all kinds of other things that go on business-wise for him or her that owns a business like that. So I don't see that changing during this project with Mass DOT money in play.
Great. And we do have another YouTube comment or question. Dave, I think you already addressed this, but I'd like to address it again. This person wants to make sure that there's always two-way traffic on Main Street. And I think you mentioned that earlier. So will we always have two-way traffic through town, or will it be one way at certain times?
Yeah, there's a magnitude, or not even any utility project. There's no way to maintain two-way traffic. Not sure that was ever discussed anywhere. There'll be 2 lanes of traffic maintained when it's safely possible to maintain them. MassDOT has some pretty strict standards for their traffic management plans and programs. So there's no way to maintain two-way traffic for even the smallest utility project usually.
Let's
the magnitude of this project, there will be 1-lane closures, and and there may even be, like we said, on occasion where both lanes might have to be closed, but those would be far and few in between.
Yeah, let's use what work's been done to date. I think it's a reasonable example of what it's going to be like for the next 2-3 years, or 2-3 construction cycles. Anyway, we really shouldn't say years because that's not quite accurate. It's construction cycles, which is not a full year. But anyway, like we have the big excavator right now, just a quarter mile down the street from where I live, sitting on Marathon Way. And the other day, for at least a couple days in a row, it was out on East Main Street digging. A big excavator was digging. So we were down to 1 lane at that time. There were police officers on either side, and they would have people go through, taking turns. That type of scenario will be up and down the corridor routinely with those big machines. So we will not always be able to have two-way traffic maintained and flowing, but we will have 1 lane with officers on either end keeping the traffic flowing as best we can. But I think that's a good example of what it's going to be like. that's the biggest machine we're going to get out there most likely. And we were working fine with just that.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Our next group of questions that we have are about parking. So we have an emailed question. I have questions about parking around the common during construction. Where will the workers park? Behind Center School? Will parking be available at the common for residents' use? It would be terrible to lose access to the common for the duration. We also need the spaces around the common for shoppers so that businesses will survive.
Yeah, for any contract, any construction contract, workers will be parking in some of the laydown areas that I've mentioned. They'll be parking in the work zones, and they'll be parking in close proximity, to the active work areas. The spots, there'll be access to the spots around the common. Again, the work hours are from 7 to 3:30 on Monday to Friday. Weekend access will be open, but the workers have to park somewhere within close proximity to their work areas. So there will be work in those areas, the laydown areas, within the work zones that are actually coned off, in those work areas, and in close proximity to the work areas themselves. And as Brian had mentioned, and we've mentioned already, they have 3 crews out there already, and we had a 4th with the Eversource crew. It hasn't seemed to have, I won't put a level of impact on parking, but it's been working so far.
I think the parking around the common will be fine in general. This is a heavy machine type project. There's not going to be hundreds of people out there digging with shovels. There's going to be big machines operating and doing most of this work. I think the common will be fine. I do think that along the corridor itself, and in front of some of the businesses, as we're working in front of some of those businesses, there will be some challenges with parking. I think we have to be clear about that up front. We talked about this obviously in town meeting a couple of years ago when we approved all this. But I think the common parking should be fine, and I'd be very surprised if that got negatively impacted. But we are concerned, and we'll do our best to coordinate with business owners and the details, allowing people to park in close proximity to the places of business they want to visit during the construction.
Now, the businesses are very concerned about the parking downtown, especially when they lose the parking that's in front of their storefronts. Is there a plan to put up parking signs so that people driving through town know, not to just keep driving through and go to Ashland and get something to eat? Like, will there be parking signs that show that there is parking available behind Center School or at St. John's Church? Just drawing attention to parking.
Yeah, I mean, the use of Center School and especially St. John's Church won't be, so the parking lease we have with St. John's is only for staff, for pretty much. It's not for general use by the public. Spots that are, special signs being put up, I'm not sure if there's an on-street parking space open, somebody can park there. We have a parking sign for in front of the police station. I know hopefully that as time goes on, we can get used a little more, if possible. On side streets, we have the new project across from Main Street where they're building the parking lot right now. Hopefully that'll open up. It should open up before this project over, and there may be parking allowed in there. But as for special parking signs of I'm not sure how we would publicize on-street public parking is available.
Okay.
Moving on to schools, in regards to buses and children, how will construction impact the school bus stops that are along the corridor? And how will we be assured of the safety of those students who walk this path to school?
Buses will, who have to drive along the corridor are gonna be impacted like any other vehicle. If there's work, the police details will safely get them through the work zone. The contractor is required by law as well as contract to maintain safe passage for pedestrians and bikers through work zones. So if kids are getting off the buses, they'll be able to, the contractor is required to provide safe passage for them. With Mass DOT resident engineers in the town overseeing the contractor's operations, that'll need to be implemented and maintained by the contractor.
So by way of example, I was out running the other day, not training for the marathon, just running. And I run 2.62 now, not 26.2.
Wow.
And it's much easier. I came upon, just again, not far from the house, one of the work spots was one of the crews working away and a police detail there. And I had to cross Main Street to go to the other side of the parking, to the other sidewalk and continue westbound on Main Street there. But I was given help to get across the street safely. And I would expect that that's what they'll be doing with every other pedestrian who needs to make their way past one of the zones. They also had the big orange barriers out, the movable barriers, to set up a sort of pseudo sidewalk even in the street that's protected as well. So that's part of the charge, and it worked for me the other day when I was jogging.
Segments of sidewalk have been closed at different times during construction so far. Is there a way to plan in advance for this for my kids walking home from school? I guess the use of the website would be the answer to this.
Yeah, as we mentioned previously, the website provides a 2-week look ahead to anticipate work that's upcoming. A day-to-day notification of where a contractor might be working is kind of a nearly impossible task. They will move around on a day-to-day basis. They may start work in one area where they were planned. As soon as they start work, they might hit something. They might have a wrong size hydrant tee. They might notice a conflict, and they'll move right along to another spot as their superintendents and project managers figure out the previous conflict as to not lose time. So it's providing the update through the website as we do now. If they're doing drainage work and it's going to impact sidewalks, we try to note what type of existing features might be impacted: on-street parking, sidewalk, traffic, lane closures. So I would just try to follow the website.
I also think that the parents can certainly tell the kids. My kids walk, but they're not going that way. They're going towards the schools. But the parents can certainly tell the kids, if you come across a construction site on Main Street or one of those side streets, as we kind of turn the corner on each street, please go see the police officer, the detail officer that's there, and he or she will help you get around that area safely. There will be details in every spot where we are working, and those detail officers will be responsible for the safety of the pedestrians and the cars. So please use them the parents should certainly let the kids use those.
We have a YouTube question, which is going back to parking. Is Crosspoint still allowing public parking behind CVS?
I don't know. I think one would have to ask Crosspoint. I don't know what's allowed in Crosspoint's parking.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. I know there was generally an allowed use of parking there for a while, but the project is taking out some of the parking spaces on the north side or the east side of the parking lot, depending on how you look at it. And that may change what they're doing with the additional parking they have in the behind the store there. So that's something we'd probably have to get back to you on, but I'm not aware at this time that we have an agreement in place for public parking. I think they allowed parking, but it wasn't. I don't think it was truly an agreement with the town that it became public parking.
Michelle, I think this is for you. Can businesses or local organizations include updates in the weekly project email or on the website as they relate to construction? So the example that was given is, can they give you information to say, you can park here to access my shop, or please use this side door during construction? Is there any means for businesses to reach out to you?
What we really think is that the best place for this information to be included is on the business's website. But what we can do, we're committed to notifying businesses and abutters that are directly affected by any phase of the project. So, if XYZ business, is going to have access that's been limited or, not as easy to get to, we will have that information upfront from the contractor. They've agreed to give us that type of information on a regular basis. It's part of their update. And then we would contact the business directly. I think in terms of the way that the construction advisories are put together, it's a little bit of an involved process, but it starts with the contractor. It goes through their comms team, which is City Point Partners. It gets reviewed by Mass DOT, and it comes to the town, and it's distributed and emailed out and sent to VHB to post on the website. So it's kind of like, I'm not going to say it's not doable, but there's a lot of work to get the advisories out in a very timely manner to as many people as we can. And I think just that trying to include the specifics for each business is better suited on their own websites.
Right. And something we missed earlier because of our technical difficulties, do you think you could give us like a 1-minute kind of description of what your role is as project specialist?
Okay, as project specialist, I'm sort of the main contact for initial inquiries, where I can work to either answer the question if I have the question, or to elevate it to other people that can deal with it and get back to people. So during the pre-construction phase, I worked with abutters on easement acquisition. So I'm very familiar with a lot of the abutters along the corridor, and have had communication with them already. And my role now is during the construction phase to work to keep the abutters updated, the community as well. But we're also making a very big effort to keep everyone along the corridor that's directly impacted up to date with what's happening, and I'm there for people to reach out if they have concerns.
That's great. And I think that role is so important with this project. So thank you very much for doing this.
Okay, and my contact information is on the website. There's an email and a cell phone where people can reach me.
Okay, so I just want anybody that's viewing on YouTube to know that we have completed the questions that we got ahead of time. So if there's any more comments, now would be the time to do it. I do have one personal question, is I think for Dave. Once this is all done, will I not be able to do those big U-turns in order to get to Bill's Pizza anymore?
Not unless you go around the Marathon Way or Park Street. We will be narrowing Main Street, so we can't do U-turns in it.
That's bad. So I don't see any more YouTube questions here. So this could be the end of our night tonight. I do want to thank Jim Cousins at HCAM for making this broadcast possible, and Bob Hamilton and Mike. Our panelists, Brian, Dave, Michelle, and Matt, thank you for joining us tonight. And all of our behind the scenes eHop members, Amy Ritterbusch, Nanda Barker-Hook, Cindy Bernardo, and my co-host Elise. Brian, do you want to make a quick announcement about town meeting this year?
Sure. We extended the date of town meeting this year. I think it was, actually Amy's gonna have a better handle on the facts than I probably, but I think we moved it to May 16th or 19th, something like that. She's shaking her head. And we also put out the town election a week or two as well. Maybe Amy could jump in and help me here. I don't have my notes from the last meeting in front of me.
Yep, so it's going to be on Saturday, May 22nd. Or no, sorry, that's the election. Oh,
No, May 8th I have.
May 8th, yeah.
But that's
And
a
then-
Saturday, right?
It's a Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
At 9 a.m. And that is on the eHop website at ehop.org/town meeting.
And it will be outside again under a tent.
Correct.
Okay. As for eHop, we will be hosting Know Your Vote again this year, discussing all the warrant articles. We have not confirmed a date, but that'll be out on our website pretty soon. But I just want to thank you all. I think you guys are doing a great job. I love the project specialist role. I love the website that you guys are maintaining. And just good luck the next 2 years.
Yeah, we all just need to hang in there for 2 years. It's going to be tough, but we'll get through it.
All right. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.